What up, those? This is Elton Anderson Jr., aka Detroit Chopra, and I'm so excited about this episode because I got one of the best representatives of my hometown, Detroit, Michigan, on today's episode. This week on the podcast, we are talking about the mind, and I really want to get to unpacking everything from our traumas to our perception of reality and our spiritual awareness and awakening. So today, without further ado, I have the one, the only Mr. David McCullar. What's going on, brother?
What up, though, Elton?
I'm good, man. I see you got on the Inception shirt. I know you guys may be listening to this, but he has on his Inception shirt and he got these blue lights in his studio, in his home studio. So he's looking real matrixy right now. How you feeling over there, man?
I'm doing good, man. I gotta do it. I gotta do it 2,000 light years ahead of everybody else, bro.
I love that vibe, man. Well, look, bro, I'm not even going to front, man. I've been so obsessed with your story, man. I saw you did an episode of your podcast, which is called the Inner Wealth Podcast, which I absolutely love. And you're linked up with the Earn Your Leisure media company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Yep, that's right. We with Troy and Rashad.
yes. And so I saw the first episode I saw was an episode called The Trauma Matrix. And it was with Billy from Forbidden Knowledge. And it was your co-host Liz. And you guys had this conversation that was based around the Matrix, but also based around the movie The Matrix. And it was also
Mm-hmm.
based around what you do over at Inception, your business. And it was just one of the most profound conversations about mental health, but also with spirituality. So that's why I was so excited to have you on here. You want to tell me a little bit more about how you got to where you are now, starting Inception, starting the world's first mental health gym, right?
Yep. So 2007, personally, this is I started the business out of a personal story, just like how most people do in the wellness world. And I was dealing with anxiety, panic attacks, depression, which stemmed from the anxiety and panic attacks, and insomnia. And I actually had a back injury as well. So in dealing with those things beforehand, I was a pretty functioning person. I would say it was normal functioning, if whatever normal is in this society. But I was doing stage acting down in South Florida. I had a job. I worked at as admissions and two universities down there. Online universities, and another one was a campus-based university that I was involved with. But the anxiety that I had, is like, it became very overwhelming, to the point where I would vomit. I would literally vomit, to the point where it just happened so much that I needed to make a change. And I thought that change that I needed to make was moving back home from South Florida to Michigan. And I didn't move back to Detroit, because I moved out of Detroit when I was about 17, but moved back to Southfield. And I thought that was going to help solve my issues. And it didn't. It didn't at all. My parents was going through a divorce, so I kind of walked back into more trauma, in a sense that I didn't even know that I was. It's just like, out of sight is out of mind. And now that I'm talking about it, I'm like, yeah, I didn't even realize I was walking into something that was just like even more traumatic. Just seeing my family kind of break apart, in a sense. So I was looking for ways to alleviate the issues that I had. And the reason why I even knew to look for things outside of the traditional model is because I had already been invested into Anthony Robbins' work, Tony Robbins.
Yes, I am so familiar with him. What did Tony Robbins teach you, or what did he spark in you that made you look for a different method?
Belief,
Mm.
and to believe, like, the things that he was talking about was so outside of the mainstream thought process. So he had people like Deepak Chopra,
Shout
right?
out.
Shout out. Deepak Chopra blew my mind with
Mhm.
the information he was speaking. Dr. Wayne Dyer. I
Love
loved
him.
Wayne Dyer.
Love
And
him.
Wayne Dyer, if people don't know, is actually he's from, I'll
Correct.
call it from Detroit,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
but he's from Mount Clemens.
He
He
was
actually
in
was
Detroit.
he was a teacher too at Wayne State, a professor at one point. And that was one of the colleges that I went to. But so he taught me about changing your mindset and using what's called NLP, neuro linguistic programming, and he later created his own model of it called NAC, neuro associative conditioning.
Mm.
And so reading those things and understanding belief and how belief changes the reality, that took me down a rabbit hole through a whole host of different other things. And
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
by the time I had the issues I was having, I remember specifically, I went to this website and I typed in, because my mom said something to me, David, you're depressed. Because my mom is a 20-year social worker, first of all. So she can see in me
Mm-hmm.
what was going on, but I couldn't see it in myself. I just thought, I just needed to be home and I'll figure things out. But she knew I was depressed. She knew that I was not well. But I went to a website and it did this battery of questioning, which was, asking, questions for depression. And then later at the end of it, it's like, yeah, you could possibly have a chemical imbalance in your brain.
Oh,
And that totally, just saying you need to go see, doctor, whatever, you can possibly have a chemical imbalance in your brain based on how I answered these questions. And at that point, I already knew about neuroplasticity. I was already into, a movie came out in 2004 called What the Bleep Do We Know?
oh,
And they had a lot of neuroscience and quantum physics type things in that video and in that movie, the documentary. And so by the time I heard that, I wasn't listening to that, bro. I was like, nah. I got a chemical imbalance in my brain. Okay, I got questions. How did I get the chemical imbalance in my brain?
mm.
And does it stay like that?
Yeah, because I can imagine. Because I want to go back to the vomiting for a second. You
Mhm.
were so you were having anxiety. So like, would you just be sitting there talking to a girl at at Denny's and just throw up, or like would it be?
No, it was situational mainly. It happened. It really started happening when um it happened multiple times at restaurants. I had ate, then I threw up. And then this was starting around 2001. And you know what? I'm gonna share this first with you.
Mhm.
Is I don't think anybody know, but in 2001, I got excommunicated from a church. I was kicked out of a church.
What?
Yeah. And so that was one of my biggest traumas that I had experienced. I was involved with this church for like 4 or 5 years. And later, as I started to kind of awaken to my own self, I had questions about things, and they
Mm.
didn't like those questions.
This is okay. We're gonna get to that because I want.
Yeah, yeah. So when because I have to be able to share that, because
Yeah.
you said the vomiting. Well, the vomiting came because I was suppressed
Mm.
emotionally and my own truth.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So looking back, you can say this clearly because you've gotten so much knowledge in the last
Mm.
20 years, which is crazy. But at the time, you were like, oh, I got a chemical imbalance, or oh, something you
Mhm.
knew something wasn't right. But
Yeah.
you also were trying to put the pieces together of what you were learning from
Mm.
different teachers,
Yeah.
whether it's Tony Robbins or
Mhm.
Wayne Dyer. And then it sounds like you just came back to listening to yourself at the end of everything.
That's what it always comes back to.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
anybody leading you away from you, they're leading you away from you.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Anybody who's
yeah,
leading you away from you in your own intuitive guide and what you know to be true within yourself, they're leading you away from you.
wow.
So again, where is the world taking place? The world does not take place outside of you. Your world only take place inside of you. So if you have, 70 trillion cells, and if the laws of entropy states that energy can never be created or destroyed, your body is timeless, and all the wisdom is already encoded into you. It only is never created or destroyed, only transformed. Your body is just a transformation of something that already existed. So from the beginning of time to now, your body has all that in there. So in all that smartness and genius and intelligence, who should you be listening to?
Yourself.
The place that you live in.
Yes.
I mean, now if people want to get if that makes people afraid from different religious standpoints, I can make it make sense to people in their own religious standpoint. Well, no, I'm supposed to trust in God. I'm supposed to trust in Jesus. But we used to sing a song that Jesus is in me and God is in me. So if that's true, then where should you look?
Still look within you.
Within you. The kingdom of heaven is on the inside. It's not outside. And that's what people don't understand. Is separatist idea is trying to separate you from you. So yeah, I had to go on my journey and do my own healing work to get to the inner wealth.
And figure it out. So you go on this journey. So you're back in Detroit, Michigan, and you are recognizing like, oh, these are traumas. When was that word trauma really brought up in your life? Because like I said, now it's kind of normalized, like trauma, narcissism, consciousness, all these vibrations. What's your vibe? What's your, all these things are normalized now. What for you back in, what can I imagine before 2007? What was that space looking like in terms of?
Oh, before 2007? Because I learned about trauma in 2007.
Oh, okay.
Before
So
2007, I would think about the word like probably all of us, majority of us is, you go to the hospital and you see the trauma unit.
yes.
So the trauma unit, that conditioning means that, man, I got hit over the head with a hammer or something, right?
I got blew up. My leg got blew up.
I blowed up my leg, right? Like something physically tragic happened.
Yeah.
That's trauma. That's our thought process and understanding. Head trauma. I hit my head, right? But I learned about trauma in 2007 when I went to a company out of Arizona that I found my answer for in terms of, hey, this chemical imbalance thought process and things of that nature. And that's where I had a brain map done for the first time. And, my brain map had showed I was in freeze, which is a survival mechanism. It's a protection algorithm program to mobilize you or immobilize you, to fight or flight, which is the mobilization to run or flee, or immobilization, play possum, play dead to survive the event or to disassociate because what's happening to you is so horrific. Like, hey, I just gotta shut down.
Yeah.
Typically, you go into freeze when you have a sense of helplessness or abandonment. Guess what? I was excommunicated from a church where all of my friends disassociated with me and another friend of mine. We both got kicked out through an email. Through an email transit. This is 2001, bro. Damn. This is when AOL was going on, and the mail was like, "You got mail, baby." Yeah, I had Austin Power email thing, and I open it up, and I'm like, "Damn!" Like church membership cancellation, that freeze. Wow. But true, I don't want people to think too much about that because I was already kind of on my way out because I started seeing stuff.
You started seeing.
I started waking up to the abuse that I was experiencing. I just didn't know it was abuse
Wow.
because I was only 17 when I started going there. So by the time I'm 21, yeah, I got that understanding from that time. And then I went to another church in South Florida,
Mm-hmm.
and that one was a lot more liberal in their thought process. But guess what? There still was abuse happening. I talked to my buddy yesterday, and we just sat on the phone. I said, man, I realized I counted how many people who was around us who was crooks and frauds at that church. I mean, not just from me just saying that. No, there are people who are in jail right now from some of the stuff that they were doing.
David, this happened
And
to
we are
me.
we are around them. I'm 21. I was like, dude, we were swimming with sharks.
Yeah,
We didn't even know it.
bruh. It's this that could be a whole episode about the black church.
Yeah, church
The
abuse.
the
Yeah.
church abuse is such a deep thing. And I know for me, when I was younger, I remember as young as like 7 or 8, really not connecting with the church. It was
Mm,
something about it was my intuition. I'm real intuitive. It was something about the church and the people there that was seeming like a facade. It was too much of a
yeah.
facade, and people played these different roles that they were supposed to play.
Mm,
And
yeah.
even at 8 years old, I said, this doesn't make sense. And so anytime I had
Mm,
questions, the questions were never answered. They were dismissed or
right.
or the rebuttal was it's the word of God. It is what it is.
Yes, it is what it is, which doesn't supply an answer. If you go to your bank and you say, hey, I see this overdraft charge for $10,000.
What's up?
If they say it is what it is, you're not going to buy that, right? So why is it when it comes down to something like that, that's a finite situation, but we're talking about my spirit, which is infinite,
Mm-hmm.
and you want me to believe everything you say, like with just without question. Like, and so that's really when you start kind of getting shut down, is by having those questions. And as being a kid, when are you most open, and you're learning? You're more tapped into your intuition and things of that nature because you don't have the trauma load,
Yeah.
on you. Is
Yeah.
as we get older that we have all these traumas. Now because again, trauma is going into defense.
Yeah.
This is what defense looks like. You put your hands over your face, you guard up. But if I'm in defense, then I cannot be on offense and take in. If you look at a closed fist, you
Mm.
can never give nor receive. That's being stuck in survival. But if you open up, you're able to give and receive.
And that's the
So,
majority of our population, is that
yes.
we are walking around in trauma and just managing our traumas. I remember I listened to another episode that you did of the Inner Wealth podcast. And
Mhm.
one of the many things you said, you talked about how we are at some points capturing and holding 16 generations of trauma within our bodies right now.
Mhm.
My mind is blown. So you're telling me I got great grandpappy trauma in my body right now?
Well, what did I say? Energy can never be created or destroyed, right? If you take a look at a hard drive, a mini little hard drive disk, why does that look like sperm?
Wow.
What's in sperm?
All the DNA,
Memory,
data.
information.
Mhm.
So if I plug it into something that's already has information in it too, then now that information is now transposed to that. So, and the thing that opens us up is trauma. Trauma basically puts a load on the system. Now, whatever that's genetically encoded into you can start to express itself. So it's not that diabetes runs in your family just because genetics. Diabetes runs in your family, first of all, because all of you adopted the same patterns of nobody running in your family.
Yes, yes, yes. Nobody.
You all have the same eating habits. You all have the same coping mechanisms. Yeah. So of course that genetic expression is going to express probably what you picked up from great 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 grandma, but really it's just epigenetics and it's environmental.
So then you went on a journey to break that program because the trauma incited you to go on a healing journey. I
Mm-hmm.
want to tap on that healing journey, but I really want to, since I have you here, I really want to start talking about this spiritual journey.
Mm-hmm.
Because for you to have been reading books, people like Wayne Dyer and being exposed to Deepak Chopra, Tony Robbins at such a young age of what you'd say, like 20, 21, you were on that?
Yeah, but probably before that too, even though I was in the church. I mean, my mother had the Course in Miracles book. I remember that book when I was younger. She listened to a lot of Wayne Dyer when I was younger. But it's not like
It didn't
I
really,
didn't hear it. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't hear it because I'm younger and I'm not really, you know, um taking it in.
yeah.
But it's still affecting me. It's still present and it still keeps me with a level of openness. But for a good period of time, now telling you that first church I was at, my mind was locked down into zealotry and just closed-minded and harsh.
Yeah.
And that happened probably, and this is, I think people people do this when they do these transformations. I noticed this trend.
Okay.
So if you go from whatever state you go start with and you go to another state, there's an off balance moment where you're like very zealous about it and just, like, oh, you got saved. Now everybody going to hell and everybody a sinner and you dogmatic about everything. Or you became vegan. Now everybody who eats meat is bad and horrible or whatever. Or now you're doing the healing work and everybody else is unhealed but you. Or now you woke and now everybody is unwoke but you. Like
Wow.
these are the patterns that we go through, and I sit and I watch, and I'm seeing somebody go through it right now that I've been around. I'm like, you're not giving people space and grace. Just because you started doing the work now doesn't mean that everybody around you is bad vibrations and bad energy and all these other things
Yeah.
when you just were in that same place.
Yeah, yeah. Like David, this is an amazing example because I kind of went through that a little bit. And I'll
Mm-hmm.
break down because when I started my spiritual awakening journey, whatever you want, journey to wokeness, who knows. But I started it in 2 years ago in 2019. This is actually like the 2 year anniversary. Like 2 years ago, I didn't meditate. I had never heard of Wayne Dyer. I had never understood consciousness or A Course in Miracles, Law of One, none of those things. And I remember I was in a life that I had created for myself, dream apartment in LA,
Mm-hmm.
business cars, all that. And what I realized is that it was almost like I took a peek into what could be called like a portal or something. I was like, what's really happening here? Like, let me just
All
peek
right.
inside. And it's like, when you have a shirt on and you pull a little string and you just
Mm-hmm.
pull
And
it.
it unravels. Yeah.
I've been unraveling for the last 2 years, like 100% unraveling. And when you talk about things like everything happens within you and the kingdom of God is within you and all these things are within you, that's what everybody talks about, no matter what
No
religion,
matter who says it, it's the same thing,
Wayne
bro.
Dyer, no matter whatever, everything is within you.
Yeah.
And everything is projected out. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're in bad relationships, they're just a
Mm-hmm.
reflection of the relationship you have with yourself.
Yeah.
If you're bad with money, like you talked about, the stock market look just like our emotional our
Mm-hmm.
emotional levels. And what did you so when you went on that journey inward, like really, really inward, um, what was like the biggest thing that you discovered about yourself, which could also be shared with everybody else in the world?
The biggest thing I've discovered was that is all about space.
Mm.
It's all about space and it's all about awareness. What is meditation trying to do? It's trying to empty a cup. You can't pour new wines into old wine skin. You have to actually till the ground and remove the weeds and then place the seed. If you sell a home, if somebody comes in and see a bunch of furniture in there, they want to get rid of what's already in there first before they bring in the newness. The space is emptying. And look at us as a term of a fractal. Growing up, I did not see as many storage facilities. But the reason why there's so many storage facilities is because we can't let shit go.
Wow.
We can't let things go. But we're constantly trying to bring in new stuff. We've become hoarders because we're so empty inside. And no matter how much we buy, sex, whatever stimulus you're involved in to take in, it would never be enough because your brain, it gets used to that. Like it's on dopamine on overload. So now if you watch a bunch of porn, now you need to go and watch something even sicker to be able to get you aroused because your brain is a developed a normalcy to that, and it's like, nah, that ain't good enough. I need you to hang on the chandelier now because I need to tie you up to the front of the car
with butter and honey on you.
Right. So it's the same thing now with the women, with sexuality and the whole movement of they're in a very masculine energy and protection mechanism. So of course you need, and this is a whole different sphere when the whole BDSM thing came really big with the 50 Shades of Grey. Well, if you're constantly in control of everything, you need something that's going to take away your control.
Yeah.
That's even, 10 times, more powerful, which is I need to be tied up. I need to be, I need to totally be able to lose control. In order to do that, I need you to like whoop me. I need you to, you know what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? The more you go down this rabbit hole.
These are all escapes.
Yeah.
Your own self.
You need more of it.
Mm-hmm.
But to fully get to the place where can you hear me? Okay. To fully get to the place where you can have a good level of balance, you have to empty out the cup. And that's what I learned. You need more space. And I'm talking about mental, emotional space. I'm talking about space between your organs. I'm talking about space between your cells. I'm talking about space between the fascia of your body. I'm talking about you need a certain level of space. Jesus told a rich man, hey, if you want to learn about, the secrets of the universe, I'm paraphrasing, you got to, give up your stuff. Come with me.
Wow.
Well, I can't give up my stuff.
Yeah.
Well, you can't take on this new stuff if you still attached to the things that you believe make you who you are. Because those things don't make you who you are. Those things are only an extension, but we have it backwards. Our extension is reversed. We're getting our self-esteem and self-worth from stuff that's outside of us versus the stuff that only ever gives us the self-worth, which is our brain, our bodies, the things that we live in. So that's the biggest thing that I learned.
Woo. And I was just journaling everything you just said yesterday. Because what I do now, David, and powerful message, by the way, powerful message. And it's so important that my listeners hear that, because that's the first thing I did intuitively. I didn't know that I had to do these things along my spiritual journey. The first thing I did, David, was give everything away. I had a stylist. I had all these clothes. I had all this photography gear. I had everything. And I said, I have to let this thing these things go. So I became a minimalist. That's what you want to call it. But I traveled the world for 2 years with like 2 bags. Like that's everything I owned. And it was creating that space for myself because I wanted to let in this knowledge and this understanding. And you had an episode that was so powerful that talked about of your podcast, Inner Wealth, of course, check it out. I've sent that episode to like 20 people, bro. Like, I'm like, watch this. This is the episode right here. And it was talking about trauma, the trauma matrix. And one of the things that it inspired me to do was rewatch The Matrix.
Yeah.
On my flight back here to the States. So I just rewatched The Matrix 2 days ago. And I know that that's something that you watch all the time. You watch the Matrix.
I would meet people and they would say they never saw The Matrix, and I was like, what? I would be offended. What do you mean you never saw The Matrix?
Get out of here.
I'm joking, but I would be like, what? Like, okay. And I would say, we watching The Matrix tonight.
Yeah.
And I literally took people to watch it. Like, I would have people in my home, like, this is what we're going to watch. You have to see this movie, but you have to see this movie.
And that is, and when you talked about that self-worth, right? When you talked about that self-worth and what's happening, what I realize is that the biggest trick that this system or that the Matrix has put on us is that our self-worth is outside of ourselves.
Yeah. Well, that's what we talked about when Neo first went to see the Oracle. You know, he had to go to this leader, this prophetess, this Oracle, who was going to tell him about himself. But she was a true leader, because the first thing she said, you know what that sign says up there on that door? It says, know thyself. You know, she said, so, you know, being a one is kind of like being in love. You just know. She's like, so what do you think? And so he's waiting for her. Will you tell me? She's like, okay. See, that's when he failed right there, because she was looking for him to validate himself. Well, yeah, you know what?
I feel it.
I am the one.
Yeah.
I am the one. But she said, okay, you want to play this game, so give me your hand. Look like you got some gifts and some talents, but you're waiting for something. What are you waiting for? You're waiting to know from yourself that you're the one. But nah, so what do you say, Neo? She never told him he wasn't the one.
He never said it.
He said it for himself. I'm not the one. And she just said, sorry.
Yep.
You know, yeah. You're right, because you are right all the time. Whether you believe it or not, you are right.
And that just shows that whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right.
It's true. Yeah, you're right.
Truest thing. So how's that shaped? So how is that these teachings, these learnings, how has that shaped your view on, one, the world, i.e. reality, and two, religion? I want to know what your relationship with religion, because it seems like religion, much like the other forms of evangelism or zealotism, whether it's veganism or people that go to CrossFit, you got to go to CrossFit.
All of those are religions.
All those, everything is a cult in shape or form.
Yeah.
And I guess I want to ask is, how does that go back to your relationship with the church now?
Well, I look at it from a broad viewpoint, like quantum theory. There's no such thing as separation. We are all one. And that was the message from every religion, the basis of the religion, not the, politicized and manipulated forms of it. By their fruit you shall know them. I look for people to have fruit. It's simple.
You could be an apple. You could be an orange.
I don't listen to people and what they say alone.
Yeah.
I listen to what you say, and I watch what you do, and I look for congruency. And if I see congruency, then I can rock with you. The moment I start seeing incongruencies, those are character flaws. Now, everybody is offered grace and space. We're not always congruent. Your brain patterns are not always up, and if they were, you would die, and they were always down, you would die. But I'm looking for an awareness and the ability to self-correct. So it don't matter if you're Buddhist, if you're Christian, if you're Muslim, you my brother, you my sister, but I'm looking for your fruit and your congruency and your awareness and your ability to self-correct, because all of you are right in your own way, but none of that matters if you're not walking in your purpose and adding value to each other. If your cells go and they keep robbing other cells, they're called a what? They're cancer. So what are you? Not, oh, I'm a Christian. No. What are you? Are you adding value, or you keep taking value? So that's how I look at it. I don't even tell people what I am, because I just am.
Yes.
I just am.
That is it.
And it's interesting that the person who most of us followed said, I am what I am. I am that I am. And the Bhagavad Gita says, I am this and I am that. Like it's all the same.
Yeah.
But only your ego will make, no, you wrong, because they going here if they don't submit to my form of thinking. Ooh, that sounds pretty egotistical and narcissistic
and judgmental
and against the very thing that you say that you follow. So I'm back to that, because there's people in my community, and they're all different things. And I'm not trying to convert anybody to anything. I'm trying to lead you back to yourself. And then you find out what's right and true for you and what you resonate with. People resonate with different things for different reasons. And that's cool. And I'm okay with that. Whether you believe that it's the aliens, whether you believe in simulation, whether you're an atheist, whether you're a Christian, whether you're Muslim, that's for you and your work. Just like the Oracle. Whatever you believe is true to you. And I'm fine with that. But let me be in my space of being okay with who I am as well. Yeah. That's really the best way I can explain it to you. But people hear me quoting all types of scriptures all the time because it's true. The stuff is true. It's like the cheat code. Laws of sowing and reaping. Oh, law of attraction. Well, yeah. Karma and dharma. Oh, yeah. That's how the thing works. Scientifically, this is how it works. The scientists know that's how it works.
And I think that's the magic of you, bro. I think that's really the magic of you, because I can see you talk about church and scripture. You can speak to whatever the audience is. I know you had Billy from Forbidden Knowledge on the episode too, and Billy could talk about everything, like spaceships and aliens and things like that, and have that conversation because you can speak that language. You're a very multilingual human being.
That's what I like to be. I like to be a multilingual human being. Yesterday, I was in the salsa community because I dance salsa and bachata, and there was a guy, brother came up to me. He's Serbian. He said, with an accent, he said, man, I listen to your stuff, and like I really like what you're saying. And here it is, this guy from Serbia saying that you break it down and you make it make sense.
You do.
I'm like, that's cool that makes sense for you. I'm happy that makes sense for you, even though you don't even look like me or sound like me, and you were born and raised in Serbia. And here I am, born and raised in Detroit and live off 8 Mile.
And that's why I think it's so important. That's why it was so important to have you on this channel, because as I was rewatching a couple of the Inner Wealth episodes, it's important to see somebody who looks like me say the same thing that Wayne Dyer said or the Bible said or whatever. It's so important to see that. So I just wanted to say thank you for that, bro, because you're really doing an amazing service, just being the I am, just being you.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. That didn't just happen overnight. I mean, I got kicked out of a church. I didn't even want to say the name God for a long time.
Wow.
Like, I don't want to hear that. I don't even want to hear the cultural language, tithes, offering, anointed.
Trigger,
I don't want to hear none of that.
triggers.
And you know when you know how I know that I was starting to walk and be healed from that is when I heard the words and I didn't have a response to it, and I was like okay with them having that language and that culture. That's what it is, because it's culture. You know, the black church has its own cultural language specifically, and they're different in different portions of it. The black gospel or the black Baptist church don't sound like the non-denominational ones. And
Right.
I've been involved in both of them. I grew up in the Baptist and I went to a non-denominational one. I went, the apostolic, all of them have their
Kojic.
own.
I went to the Kojic Church over there off of New St. Paul over there off of Grand River in Southfield. That's what.
Yeah. You know what? The first church my mom went to was called St. Paul, and she got kicked out of a church. Well, she left a church and she told me that story when I was younger. So it was like, my dad used to bring home final call papers, from the nation. Like I was exposed to different things, and here's another thing that I learned. Oh, this is another thing. You asked me one thing I learned. Here's another one that's going to be very helpful to people. I'm a hero to some people, and I'm a villain to some, and I'm okay with that.
That's beautiful.
So not everybody's gonna see you as a hero, and not everybody's gonna see you as a villain. People, how they see you is gonna be based on their own internal worlds and their own perceptions, no matter what.
Dude, that sounds like my buddy Jabril, who I had on here. Really amazing guy, but he told me
He travels, right?
yeah, passport heavy.
Yeah, I know Jabril.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
I don't know him personally, but we've talked through Instagram at one point. Yeah, I know. I followed him before. I've been following him for a second.
That is my bro. We just really connected when I was in Bali and instant bros. And the one thing he told me, he was like, Elton, it's okay to be polarizing. It's okay to be polarizing. And that was my problem, because I used to want everybody to like me because I was so insecure. Because I didn't validate myself, because I didn't have self-worth. I was on this journey of being a people pleaser and doing that. So there's so much power in not caring what people think about you. And being polarized. Go ahead.
No, yeah, exactly. And two, when you create boundaries, the more you go up in levels, there's more boundaries that's going to be created. And when you create those boundaries, people aren't happy that you created those boundaries.
Yeah.
So experienced that again now, because I had to create a boundary with somebody, and they didn't necessarily like that boundary. But am I a villain to you now because I needed to make sure that, no, if I let you keep taking advantage of me, it's going to hurt me and you.
Yeah. Because the more you betray yourself, the more you resent the other person or resent yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So no, but that's so important. And the interesting thing, the reason why that's important too about being understanding that you're a hero and a villain, and you're a sinner and a saint, is because you have polarity inside of you.
Yeah. Yep.
You have positive emotions and negative emotions. And I don't even like to call them negative emotions. They're just emotions. And that's one of the biggest issues we have in the Black community, is not being okay. Like that's was one of the biggest issues in the church, is that you got this figure up there claiming to be this flawless type of person. But why would you? That's why I try to be even more transparent, parent, and authentic. Because why try to be something that I'm not? Why try to be this fraudulent, masquerading type of person?
Yeah.
Like, no. It's like, yo, I'm human. I'm gonna mess up. I'm gonna say things that's probably going to offend people, but I'm sorry. It's not me sitting down in the basement and say, you know what, how can I screw over Elton?
Right.
How can I make his life miserable? People do the best they can with what they know, and that's a hard truth. And I'll see a lot of people come on my page, and from that statement, they'll say, "No, but this person did this," because they really want to know that that person was trying to maliciously harm them, because then it validates their pain.
They want to be the victim.
Yeah, and guess what? You probably were a victim of something. I'm not going to deny you feeling like a victim, but just because you're a victim doesn't mean that that person was conscious in victimizing you.
Yeah.
Like they consciously, again, 98% of our activity is unconscious. They're acting out their pains. If you start to really go into their history and you like, whoa, damn, now I see. I see why you did this. It doesn't make it acceptable. It just makes it understandable, and it makes it have empathy. And the empathy is where the power is.
Yeah.
Because now I can release you, because you weren't really just trying to destroy me. You were just really trying to protect you, and you were projecting some past unresolved programming and unresourceful habits, and you just were bleeding going to other people. Healthy people help people, hurt people hurt people, right? That's a statement.
Yeah, no, that's a word. And I think even going beyond, because I love the empathy, and which in turn is forgiveness. Forgiveness is such it's such a healing thing. It's for everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I want to go a little bit further, because I start looking at the different laws of reality in the world, and I look at the law of cause and effect. And
Mm-hmm.
so, in a sense, when I go back to your story, when I think about your story and being excommunicated from the church, in a way, subconsciously, you created that lesson, I think.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
It was
Twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I sat at the table with my mom. When the second time I didn't leave I didn't get kicked out the second time. The second time I saw a friend of mine getting kicked out of, this was a totally different church. They were kicking him out, and I was like, yo, this is probably what they did to me. They had a meeting, they had all of us there, they telling us what they about to do with this person. I'm like, oh man. So I left, and quite a few others left too. We were very instrumental in that church, and I was instrumental in both of them.
Yeah.
So it was hard, but I didn't like what I was seeing. Like that was character issues. But then, when I came home and saw my mom at one point, my mom would say, well, why do you feel like you attracted those scenarios? And I said, because I needed to learn to trust myself and hear from myself, and I didn't need somebody else, because those people, the leaders, they were validating who I was. They were telling me I was great. And guess what? For those moments, those were necessary things. But the problem was that you have too much power over me, and how and what you say and what you do. I needed to start following my own voice. Thank you for confirming what was already in me. But at some point, the student has to become the master, and he has to leave. He has to stop relying on the projected image of, my sense of self. Because really, when you do that, you go down the rabbit hole, and next you're in the Wizard of Oz, and you've been trying to find your way home for the damn whole movie. You done met all these people along the way. You still don't know your way home, and you met the Great Oz, and you pull back the curtain, and you found out that dude ain't even the way home. He's fraudulent.
He's a
But
fraud
then,
too.
but then they tell you, oh, it was on your feet, and all you had to do is click your heels. It was always with you. That's the message. And that's the message of all religions. Is you. You were born completely whole.
And we forget that. Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
You were born complete, not incomplete. Like, man, they messed us up, bro. They got us thinking we were born incomplete.
They got us thinking that we're separate from each other. They got us thinking
Yeah.
that we have no call, that they have us thinking that we have to survive this life.
But think if your body worked the way that people worked. Think if your body worked with no boundaries, was always taken, was selfish, you'd be dead.
In
Your heart like, man, fuck, I don't want to do no more in a day. you know,
yeah.
your heart like, hey man, we didn't we hey, I can't put no more blood.
Is your lungs over here want to go and chill?
You would die.
Yeah.
You would die if your heart acted like we act. So we have to move from dependence. We have to move from independence to interdependence. And it's cooperation over competition. But only way that we do that is by getting out of the trauma matrix. And the only way you do that is by turning inward. And the only way that you get to be inward is by, again, you gotta empty the cup. You gotta get some space. You gotta get some awareness. You gotta let some shit go. And you have to get the issues out of the tissues of the body where your brain and body is not responding to old patterns that has you stuck in the same unresourceful patterns that you've been in. And it's a systematic way that you can do that. And that's what we do. We start that process at inception. Inception is not complete in all into itself. It's complete in what it's intentionally supposed to do. But you're still on your journey and you forever be on your journey. Like, that's just what it is. Like, that's not like come to inception and you're gonna be made whole. Woo! Like, no, it's there's ongoing. Like, I've been doing my work for 15 years, and a mentor told me, she said, David, you know when the work stops? I said, when? She said, when you're dead.
And that's true.
You're healing. Your healing is ongoing.
And we came here.
You need to support the body.
Yeah, and we came here to have these experiences. We came here into these vessels, these bodies, to experience life and ultimately create heaven on earth, which I think that's...
You ever seen Altered Carbon?
Yeah. I watched season 1.
Yeah, your sleeves. Yep. Yeah, I watched season 2 too as well. But the sleeve that we're in, it holds all of it, man.
Yeah.
Like this is it. This is the richness that we're alive and we get to experience this thing. And it never runs out of, it's constantly producing for that we can have the experience. We think the experience is going. So I'm always talking about trips. And it's funny that you go on trips.
A lot.
But there's a form, and I'm not saying for you, but escapism, like, oh, I'm gonna feel better once I get here, like for a moment, but the experience is still inside of you, so you can have misery in paradise.
David, you're like, this is literally what I said the other day. I think you're reading my journals, because I was just talking about this and writing about this the other day, because I felt like I was escaping who I was when I started going through that portal and learning about all these different ideas and consciousnesses, and, trying psychedelics, doing shrooms, just doing everything to really get in connection and get connected with my higher self. And what I realized, and what I was telling my buddy the other day as I was coming back to the States, because I hadn't been living here for 4 months, I said, I had to realize that it wasn't me to let go of the old me necessarily. It was about me to integrate him into who I am. It was the integration,
bro. And that's what, when people do the shrooms and the ayahuascas and the Inception, yeah, that's cool. You got to empty the cup, but guess what? You still got to integrate. You got to process. You have to integrate. Integration is a big part of it. In the beginning, I was running and brain training all the time because I didn't want to feel anxiety. I don't want to feel anxiety. I tried to stop having the feeling. But a mentor told me, David, what's wrong with feeling anxious? I said, I don't like it. Well, why don't you like it? Because it makes me feel like this. Well, what happens when you feel like this? I feel like I'm going to throw up. So what happens when you throw up? I throw up. So what happens after you thrown up? Nothing. Okay. So you went through that process, you allowed it to go through you. It's the resistance of what's coming up after you do the modalities that the issue is. I don't want to feel the anger. I don't want to feel the sadness. I don't want to feel the anxiety. I don't want to feel the pain. It's like, well, you won't get to the other side until you feel that and integrate that.
Yep.
Now your nervous system, after the integration, your nervous system is able and adaptable to actually take on the next level. You go to the gym, you tear down. I don't use the word tear down, but hypertrophy. You're gonna build the muscle. You sore. You don't feel good. Oh, I feel tired. Why? Because that's the time where you're going through an integration process. But you can't deny. You cannot suppress that pain. It's just you just gotta deal with it, right? Until the body adapts. It's the same thing mentally, emotionally.
Yep.
You gotta process. You have to integrate, and then a lot of people, you got to pour out the cup in increments, because you can't just empty it all, process it all, and integrate it all.
Yeah.
Like
that sounds like a near-death experience.
It don't work like you just gonna integrate it all at the one moment. Like, no, it took me years to get to where I am now. And that's why I was able to go back and tell you that story about the church thing. Like, and I can look back like, nope, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. I did this, I did this, I did this,
Yeah, I know. I get it.
Because life is a process and life is a journey.
And a journey ends up leading you to finding home within yourself. So now I don't have to escape to Bali. I feel at home no matter where. I don't care where I am. I will feel at home within myself. And this just occurred to me like 4 days ago as I was headed back.
Right, well, congratulations.
No,
when you said you had to give up, I had to give up my life in South Florida, and I moved back home here with my dad, who was going through a divorce. And I lived with him for 5 years as I started building the company and working on healing myself. Guess what? I was like 27, so I'm in my 30s living with my dad. Like, people would think that's like, oh, like in our culture, like, oh, you living with your dad, like, oh, like, and I would go out and I would date women, and oh, you living at home. But I never saw it like that. I knew what I was doing. I was building, and what I was building was me on the inside. I was working through those things, and at the same time, I was working on building a company that did exactly what I wanted to do, which was help people. That's why I got into the whole Anthony Robbins. That's why I was in church, because I wanted to be the evangelist. I didn't want to be a pastor. I wanted to be an evangelist. I want to go speak a message. I needed a story though. Well, I got a story. They kicked my ass out. They kicked me out. I had all this trauma from it. Yeah, like then I'm having all these issues, and then I got to figure out how to overcome these issues, and I figure out how to overcome these issues. This is what I was supposed to do.
This is what you, and the deeper you go into it, you created this. You created all of this situations and trauma because this is what you wanted to do in the first damn place.
Because I needed this to be able to do what I'm doing now.
You had to understand anxiety. You had to understand pain. You had to understand rejection. You had to understand all these emotions to be able to do this. And now it's just
because if I don't go through that, then I don't know. I can't sit here and have this conversation with you about this stuff if I never experienced it. So, like, Bible talks about your steps are ordered. Yeah.
Big time.
It's all divine. Okay, cool. I mean, look at the name, dude. Inception. It's like the beginning of something new. Like, and that's not how I started. My first business was called Neuro Fitness Center.
And then how did you get to the name Inception?
I went through a lawsuit with somebody who, Yeah, I let a business partner, I let somebody into my. I don't know why, man. I'm being super transparent with you on this podcast. Nobody really heard me talk about. I in 2006 took on a business partner, a white guy, white surgeon who came into my facility that I had at that time, which was smaller, looks nothing like Inception that you may see on the online and stuff, but the concept is there and it's crammed in 1,500 square feet. And I'm running my whole thing. I got brain training, I got floating, I got all this other stuff in there. He came in and saw it and was like, "Oh wow!" And I turned him away at one point when he said, "I'm looking to open a place 40 miles away and I'm looking to do it with somebody." I said, "Well, I know somebody else who's looking to do something." So I gave him his contact information. He called me back and couldn't get in contact with him. And I was like, "Well, I'll be willing to do it with you." But I messed up because I let him into my brand. I let him into my company and my LLC as a member of my company. And the moment that I his facility, I built out a brand new facility. Me and my mom picked out everything, floor opened it, grand opening, and literally right after that, this dude has an issue and he corners my mom like in a room.
Yo.
Like, and I had to get in his face. I had to get in this dude's face at one point. That's when the lawsuit ensued, and that's when I lost a lawsuit.
Wow.
And guess what? That person is still to this day. That person still to this day is utilizing my brand.
The
I
neuro.
mean, I lost bad, dude. Yeah, I lost bad. I lost bad.
Wow.
It seemed like I did, but when I was happening, it forced me to go and create something new. And it was good because I'm the type of person where I'm like, oh, I get to do something new. So while I was still in the lawsuit, I was running two locations of my other brand, still going through a lawsuit because I was the managing member. And so I ran everything. It was my LLC. I was the managing member. I ran the LLC.
But you had learned over
But
the
I didn't know
years.
certain things about business though. Like my contract that I had, like my operational agreement, I didn't know anything about no. It was me and my dad. I didn't need a operations agreement. My dad, my mom, I didn't need anything with them. They don't they ain't trying to screw me over. But come to find out, man, like I lost, but I won
So much.
because I got to go and do something new. And the me trying to hold on to that thing caused more pain.
That's the resistance.
In the lawsuit, again, you go through. I didn't go to court or anything like that. You go through arbitration, and then I realized how much of a farce this thing was because man, the way they cooked that up. If you read them documents today, they would make me seem like I was the criminal, and I'm like, my business. This is my LLC that I had for 9 years now. Like what? We us
And they made you seem like
and bro, because again, I was used to running singular as a single operator. Now I got employees and stuff. Like that was a learning experience. I got my ass handed to me. Why? Because I needed to.
yep.
I needed to have my ass kicked because I needed to be able to no, don't do that. And then the next time around, I got another bad partner when I created Inception.
Wow.
Bro, these lessons just keep
You need
coming, right? And I
yeah.
got another bad partner, but this time, guess what though? I'm smarter than the last time.
Yep.
And I have better documentation. I have better understanding of what I'm doing. And next you know, that partner now is gone and it was basically handed over to me for nothing.
Look at that. And that
Why?
let's
Because I
talk
was
Inception
I
is a
was
good ass name
smarter.
too.
Bro, when I was able at first it was gonna be Matrix, but then I was like, but Inception for whatever reason that ring to me more. And now nobody know the other thing. Nobody cares about that. This was a white surgeon who just came in and did like a lot of times what happened to us as people. Somebody see your stuff and they take your stuff over. Like the smart thing for the dude to do was to go and actually create a whole nother brand and just take his location. No, he wanted to keep my stuff because he thought that having it built like that, like he was gonna know how to run it. No, bro. Once I left, the vision left.
Yep. You was the soul of it.
The vision left. Yeah. Like, why would you even want to try to do what I'm doing? Because it's not you. You got to build your own identity. But so yeah, man, those experiences, the church and the lawsuits and all that stuff, man, that just built me to where now, I see things, and it's some stuff that's happening now again that I'm seeing with some leaders in the community that I thought was a certain way, and I see the veil drop on them.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said, it's one thing to talk. It's another thing for your actions and your talking to line up. And the moment that they don't, I'm out.
Yep.
The
And
moment that they don't consistently, I'm out. Because I had my ass handed to me before by not listening to myself.
yep. Yep. And that's the biggest trick, is that even language was created to make us not listen to ourselves, because babies have intuition, dogs got intuition. They know when somebody vibe ain't right, and we know it too.
Right.
But that's the biggest trick that this system, this matrix has taught us, is not to trust ourselves. And I love how you're getting people to go back into just literally just trusting yourself. That's it. That is it.
Yeah.
Just listen to yourself, because when you listen to yourself and you listen to yourself authentically, because authenticity, people don't even know what authentic is. They got to learn what that is. They got to learn what's authentic to them. So I think that is a huge deal, bro. And I don't want to keep you too much longer, because we've been here.
Yeah,
I try to keep my podcast. I try to keep my podcast not long, man. But it's so much I want to talk to you about, David. It's literally, I think we're gonna have to do this again when I come to Detroit. But but the one thing I do want to ask before we get off is that we talked about pulling behind the curtain on Wizard of Oz, and we talked about the Matrix several times. I want to know, because you told me in the DMs, you was like, Elton, I've seen the Matrix. I want to get the first official description of this Matrix. I'm putting you on the spot. If I need to cut this part out, let me.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, this could be the after show then. Give
yeah.
I won't record the after show.
I saw it as an empty space. Like, even though I saw my environment, it was dead, like a stage. Yeah, that's what I saw. And when I saw it as for what it really truly was, and that's a game. And the more I play video games, the more I can really understand, well, how can anybody ever say that it's not similar or the same? Because you have options in the game. And the more they plug in, you ever heard of a game called No Man's Sky?
No.
No Man's Sky is a game engine that they've created that you can go, the more you go to other planets on this game, it just creates more and more and more and more and more. It's like never ending. This is a game. This is a video game that does that. You can explore infinite possibilities. You can explore an infinite possibility of planets. That's a game.
Yeah.
And they got that. And that's on like a PlayStation. So I mean, I don't know what that means, but I know that there's infinite possibilities in life, and I know that, whatever choice you choose, that, like right now, if you walked outside and went upstairs and knocked on your neighbor's door, how much would that like, you never thought about doing it, but you just went and did it, like, what would that change?
Yeah.
Because that's another infinite possibility. Yep. It can take you down other rabbit holes. What if I stayed at the churches?
What would that timeline look like?
What if I quit doing what I was doing? What if I decided to just go and take the medication and just try to go on with my life. All of those realities exist, but I chose a different one. And those opportunities and those pathways open up because I chose to go down them. And so a lot of people are stuck playing the same game just because of one thing.
Mm-hmm.
A, B, C, D. They chose a button on a controller. That's why. Because you chose on a controller. You made a choice. It's binary zeros and ones. You made a choice. And based on that choice, that reality exists for you.
Wow. Well, that's it. That is.
I don't know if that's what you was looking for, but that's
No, no. I think that is exactly what I needed to hear. I'm going to keep talking to you after this, after we cut off
okay.
the show. But
Okay.
no, brother. Well, David, this is quite the episode, bro. I really love the way you put these different teachings and knowledge. And when are you coming out with your book, bro? Do you already have a book? Is it happening?
No, but that's happening. You know, all things in due time. It's so many things on the plate. I got approached about doing a book 3 years ago now, and it's just like I got so much stuff I'm doing, man, that it's just like all of it will get done when it's supposed to get done. That's another thing that I've learned, not to just go into a whole different, but it's just the law of least resistance, man. Like I don't want to do the things just to say I did it to make me feel better. It's going to happen just because I'm on the path of it happening, but I don't need to put it out to like the podcast. Like I do the podcast for one reason, and that reason is to help people. That message out there for they can help themselves. I'm not into this for self-validation. I actually want to be behind the scenes. I didn't even want to do the stuff.
Yeah.
But a mentor told me, she said, David, until you decide to get out here in front, your business will not grow. Cause I was scared, bro. I didn't want to be seen.
Yeah.
You know. And then that was another thing about my internal self-worth again.
Yep.
You know how many people won't get out and do podcasts and do all these things, even though they got a wealth of information? Why? Because somebody gonna say something about me.
Yeah. I don't like my
Afraid.
voice. I don't like my voice.
I don't like my
looking up
voice.
the
I don't
camera.
all of that stuff. But so yeah, I'm just on that path, man. Law of least resistance. In the book, the book is definitely coming along with a whole bunch of other stuff. Like Inception is not just a facility, it's a mindset, it's a culture, and it's the gateway that opens people's up to other possibilities, the same way Anthony Robbins did for me.
I love it, brother.
Right?
Love it, man.
Same way Wayne, Deep, they all did that for me. And now I'm just my version of them doing that with them for our people.
Yes. Well, David,
Yeah.
brother, thank you so much for your time, man. This definitely opened my mind up to so many different possibilities. I'm so grateful that you decided to step in front of the camera and use your voice to elevate more and more people. You're really doing the work, man. And where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Mr. David McCullar. You can also find our Inner Wealth page at INNER Wealth. Inception's Instagram is I_am_inception. Also, you can find us on the web at inceptionep.com.
All right, brother. I'm going to put all that information in the liner notes. And guys, if you have not listened to the podcast, definitely check out Inner Wealth Podcast. It will change your entire life because I know it changed mine. I want to thank David one more time, and I will catch you all on the next episode. Remember, trust yourself, and we'll see you next week. Peace.
All right, brother.